Good hello and welcome to Down Under Politics. It's been a while since we did this. I've forgotten everything. Isn't that fantastic?
Look, it's probably for the best.
It,
Politics is toxic.
politics is very toxic, especially when it's all upside down and eating onions, which is fantastic. So tonight we're going to go through the budget that was just handed down from Mr. Chalmers himself. The one, the only, the legend, the first treasurer in what is it, 15 years to deliver a surplus. Spoiler alert, by the way, it's an actual surplus as opposed to when the Libs said that they delivered a surplus, but it was they projected a surplus like 10 years from when they did that budget, which is cheating.
Lol. My claim to fame, I'm actually enrolled to vote in Chalmers' electorate.
Good work. So it's your fault that he completely cocked everything up and is a horrible financial manager, because being the Labour Party, they're just terrible with money, and the Liberals are excellent economic managers, as we all know from Daddy Rupert.
Mea culpa, mea culpa.
So apparently Tom is, he's not with us. Feel free to interpret that in any weird and perverted way you like, because this is the internet and you all will, which is fantastic. So I'm going to click some buttons and try to get this thing to work. This one, and then this one, so that we can start going over budgets, because I'm pretty sure out of the three of us, I'm the only one that's actually read it. And David's muted himself.
Yes, sorry. I went on mute to drink my water.
Classic David. So, the ABC has been so kind as to put together a nice little thing right here that we can just go through all of the different items and see how completely they've just spent all the money on irresponsible, reckless spending like Labour does, because they are not the responsible economic managers that are the Liberal Party.
They certainly couldn't get us into surplus.
They could never get us into surplus. There's no way that could happen. Oh, wait. Whoops. So, where do you guys want to start? Any particular thing in here catch your fancy that we want to delve into?
I think it's important that we talk about aged care. Just start at the beginning.
Okay.
I think some of the changes they made to aged care, increasing wages, is sorely needed.
Yes.
Aged care nurses are absolute saints. They deal with way too much and they get paid way too little for what they do. So I think them getting paid a little bit more is by no means a bad thing.
I agree with that, especially, given how badly aged care got shafted over the pandemic with the complete lack of management from the previous government, who were good economic managers. So yeah, they're looking at like a $10,000 a year pay rise for registered nurses and $7,500 for enrolled nurses, which that's a little bit. That's a fair bit.
That's a pretty decent pay rise. I'm just curious. It's like I said, I very quickly glanced over this. This is aged care. Is there anything in here, and we'll probably get to it, but is there anything about teachers?
Teachers, I don't remember seeing any, but we'll go through everything. So if there is, we'll find it.
See, that just comes to my mind after seeing this.
I would actually suggest that you wouldn't necessarily see anything on teachers because that is state funded.
There you go. That's a fair point. So
sense, yep.
Aged care getting a nice little boost there, which it's only going to cost $11.3 billion. How reckless of Labour to spend that on people to live with. Terrible. We just can't have this at all. Daddy Rupert, please adopt me.
Trying to pull a Candace Owens, I see.
I mean, yeah, also trying to pull a Kyle Hill with Elon Musk. I'm fairly sure he wants Elon Musk to adopt him. Although, to be honest, who wouldn't want Elon Musk to adopt them? But moving along to agriculture, and this is actually quite important, especially with how climate change is going to, make food harder to come by because water will become harder to come by. So protecting Australia's biosecurity is very, very important, and the government's putting a whole bunch of extra money into it over the next 3 years to the tune of $150 billion.
No, but the real tragedy of this, it's nothing will ever be enough. Nothing will ever be enough unless they commit to the Bradfield plan.
Agreed, but also we should just put a dome over Australia.
Also agreed. I can live with this.
I think a giant dome would be money well spent. So agriculture's looking up. The arts, of which I am a huge fan. So the federal government's committing $286 million over 5 years to support the arts, doing a whole bunch of things. Some money's going to First Nation. No, it's they're establishing a new arts body, a First Nations led body. So First Nations art. If you like art, then that's great, I suppose.
So looking into this, I don't necessarily agree with the government just giving artists money. I think that art should mean something to people enough for them to want to pay for it. Especially Music Australia. Like, I mean, you look at how bad Screen Australia has been. All they fund is drug dramas and family comedies that are ridiculous. Look, all I'm saying is, hey, it's Esther Blueberger was funded by Screen Australia, and that was a garbage movie. It never should have been made. I hold the government directly responsible for that crime against humanity.
Look, that is a fair argument, but allow me to offer a counter argument that I definitely came up with and did not steal straight from the ABC. At least I think it was the ABC I was watching that made this. I mean, this is my argument. I came up with this, obviously. The arts is kind of a hit and miss industry. Where if you go based off of the average of what comes out, then it's always going to underperform. You need to focus on the good things that do come out, because that is, you can never know what is actually going to be good and what is going to be bad, apparently.
Yeah, but like the people running Screen Australia could pick less consistently bad things that no one wants to watch.
I mean, yeah, but so could the Daily Wire, I suppose.
Agreed, but I'm not giving my money to the Daily Wire. I'm giving my money to the Australian government is taking my money
at gunpoint, Mitchell. They are literally They're coming into your house, holding a gun to your head, and forcibly removing your money from you.
In any case, I'd like to see us do some actually and this is the problem. Like, Hollywood is garbage because it is
most
chronically
media
averse
is
to
garbage.
risk. Well, yes, this is true, but like, Hollywood is chronically averse to risk. It will pump out the same garbage over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Screen Australia is much the same, except it'll pump out the same sort of garbage that no one wants to watch.
Well, look, on the bright side, at least then people aren't suffering through it.
Both organisations, both Hollywood and Screen Australia, are incredibly nepotistic and incredibly risk averse, and they will keep on funding the same sort of projects. And this is the problem I have with funding the arts. Who's actually going to be deciding where the funding goes? Who are their friends?
Arts majors, obviously.
Do you trust arts majors? I don't, and I am one.
I don't trust people.
Do you trust Mitch to spend the government's money?
I don't trust me to spend the government's money.
I don't trust Mitch to spend his own money.
Look, that's probably fair. I spent a lot on miniatures when I should have been saving for a wedding.
Exactly. Mitch is he's not Liberal Party materials. He's too reckless in spending money on his mates.
And not on Coke.
Exactly. The Australian government is fueled by Coke. It's very important. Anyway, moving on from the arts, childcare. And I actually like this because I'm benefiting from this personally. Haha, it's all about me. So the government's $4.7 billion childcare subsidy will finally become reality from July 1. In short, it's good news for families with children in childcare. That's amazing. It's all about me.
What, Jono, you earn less than 530K?
Look, it is a surprise, and I earn a little bit less than $530,000 a year. So I'm just scraping in under that threshold. Personally, I think the threshold should be much higher because I'm really struggling. I can only afford 2 Lamborghinis a year. It's just not enough.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. If
Um,
you can't flex
just
on the
find it
pause,
funny.
what even is the point of life?
Imagine having kids and being on 500K a year and being like, I'm going to claim this subsidy because,
look, someone will.
because I can.
Almost certainly. It won't be worth their time to fill out the paperwork. But I'm sure that they will. And families earning less than 80K, the subsidy for their first child will climb to 90%. Yes.
Well, I just hope that things don't climb, like costs in childcare don't climb because government money is going into it.
I mean, maybe.
This, when I remember that's a bit further down that we can get to, but that was my thought, Mitch, on the GP one, the bulk billing. Who's to say these childcare facilities aren't just going to bump their prices to
Oh, I mean, that is always the concern when you do
take
intervention.
take that extra pay. They'll
That's where, when drafting the legislation, you need to put a clause in there that says, "Hey, if we notice that you're going to increase your prices unreasonably, we're going to cut you off."
Yeah, but who's going to police that?
Someone, I suppose. I don't know. Mitch, you can
and
do
who's
it.
going to check in on it in 5 years?
Thanks for volunteering, Mitch.
I'm just going to quote my favorite quote from Civilization 4, as voiced by Leonard Nimoy, God rest his soul. The bureaucracy is expanding to meet the needs of the expanding bureaucracy.
Classic. Look, we'll wait and see. Personally, I don't expect that it will just increase. And even if it does, it'll be very hard to say if it was because of the subsidy or if it was just going to increase anyway. So I'm pretty safe to take that position.
The wages
because I can't be wrong.
If the price increases, will the wages follow? Probably not.
Probably not.
And that's the biggest thing, because childcare workers probably do deserve extra money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they have to deal with my kids. I caught Lewis building a guillotine the other day, and I was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You need to put the blade around this way. I had the blade backwards. It's not good enough.
You can't get good help these days. That's just the problem.
It's terrible. So that's childcare. Cost of living. Now here, I think that they're being a little bit sneaky with this. Because they've got cost of living, then electricity bills separately. But if we look at cost of living, something noticeable here is that it only seems to actually point out what the government's doing with electricity bills. The rest of it's fluff.
Yeah, it's all conjecture.
It's like, oh, inflation has been hitting. It's like, yes, it has. So what are you going to be doing about inflation? They're like, we're being optimistic and it's going to fall back to between 2 and 3% by mid-24. It's like, okay, so what are you doing about it? It's like, we're going to help with electricity bills. Okay, but isn't that in the electricity bills category?
Well, we've got to keep in mind, this is exactly what modern monetary theory is. Print out a whole lot of money as necessary to stimulate the economy and take it back in inflation and therefore increased real taxes.
Yes. Unless, of course, your economy grows by the amount of money that you printed, then you're fine.
But it didn't, let's be honest.
It didn't. To be fair, the money was printed in the middle of a global crisis and there wasn't a lot of other choices. It was arguably the less shit of the shit options. But that's for a future argument that will cause Mitch to have a brain aneurysm over.
Look, all I'm saying is we should have let COVID be the boomer remover it was destined to be.
But look, this sentence here particularly triggers me. It's hoped, it's like, okay, cool, you're building your budget off of hope, that the government's energy bill relief plan, which will reduce eligible household bills by up to $500, will directly push down inflation. Anyone see a problem with this reasoning?
Giving people a spare $500 to spend is going to increase inflation.
Giving you money to fight inflation is like screwing for virginity.
Giving you petrol to put out a fire.
See, so here's my hot take on it. I think it will have zero impact on inflation. And here's the reason why. Part of inflation is calculated off of energy bills. And I genuinely think that it will cause energy bills to go down because, as my understanding is, it's being set up in a way that it gets paid directly to energy companies, and you never see it appear on your bill. So your bill will go down as a result. So that'll go down, but that will then give people an extra $500 to spend.
What are they going to spend it on?
Which they're then going to go and spend on the not enough goods, which will push inflation up in other areas, which is why I think
which will drive demand.
That it will ultimately have zero impact on inflation. Because on one side of the equation is putting downward pressure and the other side is putting upward pressure. There's my hot take. Also,
right,
wages are forecast to rise. It's like, okay, but what have you done to cause this? I don't, other than the bill relief plan, the rest,
inflation?
The other 4 chunks of text here are just filler as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. It's all fluff.
It is all fluff. Everything is fluff. Defense. They're spending $11 billion on defense over the next 4 years. An extra $11 billion on defense. Which before the show started, we had a brief discussion about this. And as far as I'm concerned,
we're not buying tanks, are we?
Look, they've put a picture of a tank there, so that's tanks confirmed.
We're in Ireland.
Tanks confirmed, everyone.
As it subs, because that kind of makes more sense. But
I think we are still locked into a contract to buy nuclear subs from the Americans, which will be obsolete by the time they arrive, and we will not be able to fuel them ourselves.
Look, all I'm saying is, I'd rather have
uranium we have.
Yeah,
I'd
but we
rather
don't use it.
Increase of our defense force than 将上号中国，将菜就我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋。
I think we're now demonetized.
Wait, how far in? We're a good few minutes in. I think we're good.
Oh yeah, we're 18 minutes in, so I think we're good. It's only if you're a racist within the first 3 minutes that's a problem.
I have a I'll derail the session very briefly, but I have an interesting story. As me and Jono are aware, we're in Newcastle, which is close to the RAF base. You know, a few weeks ago when I was in hospital, just randomly we were talking about there's a new hospital being built in our area. It's going to be absolutely huge. And it was funny because I was talking about like where I live and how I always hear, and Jono, you probably hear them too, you always hear the fighter jets flying over during the day.
Oh yeah, so often.
Did you notice that when the war broke out in Ukraine and that it ramped up and there were a hell of a lot more jets flying over?
I did notice.
Like it was pretty much every day, just constantly.
Yes.
It's like they were doing extra training.
Yes.
I was telling her about that, and I'm like, it's kind of comforting when, you know, you hear about a war breaking out, you're like, oh shit, and then you just hear jets flying over you and you know you're not far from a RAF base. And she's like, see, I find that uncomforting because we're probably a target. And then there's going to be this giant hospital built not far away. Like,
look,
you make a good point.
Depending on where you live, however, if you're close enough to the RAF base, at least you'll be vaporized instantly by the nuke.
That's my thoughts exactly. I hope that I'm either vaporized instantly or further enough away that I get to die slow, painful death from starvation. Wait, that's not good.
I just hope I'm far enough away. Hope enough that I'm far enough or close enough that it's instant, but far enough that I get to walk outside and just see this pretty image.
Look,
Like,
can
If
we
it makes
all,
you guys
cool.
if it makes you guys feel any better, where I live will turn into a military supply area, and I'll probably get nuked too.
look, just as long as I get my plasma gun. Fallout promised me a plasma gun.
Mm.
But yeah, defense
moving on.
spending. As we were talking about before the show, we could spend the entirety of Australia's GDP on defense, and China would still steamroll us. So the argument that we've got to protect ourselves from China is bullshit.
But at the same time, like, China doesn't
why
have
we're
the
friends
logistics
with
to pull
America.
off an invasion of Australia. So
I mean, Australia doesn't have the logistics to pull off an invasion of Australia. We lost a war within our own borders against flightless birds. Maybe that's what they're using the military spending on. They're
get
reigniting the
revenge on
Great
the
Emus,
emus.
which is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, I'm here for it.
I
No,
think
but
the funniest thing of that whole thing, Emu War, is that we apparently ran out of bullets.
I believe it.
What I'd honestly like to see when it comes to defense is the defense budget going into manufacturing in Australia. And that's what an earlier release actually said. Like the review that was released just a few weeks ago of Australia's defense capability said we need to bring more manufacturing back to Australia. And if we do that, that means that those manufacturing skills are transferable to civilian industries as well, which hopefully means that we'll have something else in Australia to invest in other than houses.
Yes, agreed. I mean, Toyota started as a textiles company, and then when the war broke out, they transitioned to making war materials and then made civilian vehicles afterwards.
So as far as I'm like, military spending and military investment has always reaped civilian dividends down the line. So I'm not terribly worried about this because I think we will see some long-term benefits.
An extra 11 billion is not that much anyway.
It's a sixth of the cost of the stage 3 tax cuts.
Yeah, which we will get to, and look, I was furious about it, but now I'm just so exhausted thinking about it. I just don't care anymore. I'm apathetic towards them.
Join me in apathy.
But look, here we go. Electricity bills. Oh, it's more details
the same
on the
thing.
It's like, no, this is cheating. You can't have both of these in here. And most of this one was filler. But as we already said, there's like $500 energy relief. There's $650 for small businesses, and it will change depending on what state you're in because different state. It's a cooperative thing with the states. If you're in Victoria, you're already getting $250 in energy relief apparently. So they're only giving you $250 to make it $500. And again, I reckon it'll have zero impact on inflation. Disaster responders, which is very important. I hope that the fireys are getting something because sooner or later that's going to be a problem again.
No, it's just to create hey, it's more work for you guys, maybe.
True, maybe. The emissions reduction. I mean, good work on doing the bare minimum labor, I suppose. It's
that
400.
That bit was thrown into a piece of greens, wasn't it? Even
Look,
though it probably didn't.
It really didn't appease them. They're still kind of pissed off that it's just like you're basically doing sweet fuck all. 450.
Yeah, but Green's cope is the most hilarious cope there is. Second, no, second only to the Libertarian cope. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I was just about to say. Have you seen the Libertarians? They're just snorting down the copium so hard.
Oh, we'll get to that when we come to smoking and vaping.
And Jono, you got environment next, so maybe this is another cheat. Are they doubling up again?
Let's see. No, I'm not seeing the same numbers.
Yeah, okay.
To Commonwealth National Parks and Marine Reserves, that'll be good because it will mean that national parks will be able to do the maintenance they need to keep, bushfire fuel from building up.
Control.
So look, that'll be good. That's an investment in not having the country burn down again.
Look, as a libertarian, I don't like the government spending money, but as a conservative, I do like the government spending money on things that preserve our natural beauty. So,
Mitch, you're a man of contradictions.
It's the only way to be.
90 million to improve basic water, sewage, and electric services for the, and I apologize that I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of this, Mitchel community. I think that's how it's pronounced. I have no
Well done.
idea. I apologize if I fucked that up.
We should probably have someone who's actually Aboriginal on the panel.
Well, I mean, I've got like a tiny amount of Aboriginal. I could claim it if I wanted to, but I don't. I kind of feel indifferent about that sort of thing for myself personally. But look, marine science is getting money. Yeah, but I mean, it looks good, and it's not doubling up with emissions reduction. There's no mention of emissions reduction in here at all, so that's good. Although, I mean, more money for national parks is emissions reduction, because when you burn trees, it turns out that's emissions.
Oh, look, I don't like the idea that they're going to set up yet another EPA agency. Like, do we not already have organizations that can enforce?
Mitch, the ones we currently have are not putting giant glass domes over anyone. It's not good enough.
What am I saying? You're completely right. We do need that dome.
We do need that dome. We need a firmament over the top of the land, and above that is the water, and all the stars are holes to let the water in as rain.
As a young Earth creationist, I can get behind this.
Gas industry is a loser, which is right, because they're going to be taxed.
I think the only thing I hear that I would disagree with, and I don't know the details, is if this encourages more coal use.
I was going to say the same thing. Gas is the cleanest of the fossil fuels.
It's not going to encourage more coal use. It's just going to encourage more expensive electricity, because coal is dying, and private companies that own the coal plants are not interested in building new ones because it's not economically viable.
And to be fair about this as well, the PRRT wasn't designed for LNG projects, which means that it's basically just including, like, it's closing a loophole pretty much.
Yeah, it's look, this is to the fossil fuel industry as Bill C-16 is to trans people. Haha, I referenced Port and Jeterson.
I mean, quite frankly, I'd like no one to be paying tax, but I think as far as resource rents are concerned, those resources belong to all of us. So yeah,
yes,
pay me.
Exactly. And Mitch, you're quite right. We should abolish government, pay no tax. Everyone can just have these private security corporations running communities that you can pay a percentage of your income to protect you and provide basic.
I, for one, welcome our Ancapistan overlords.
Look, to paraphrase the greatest man who ever existed in any of the infinite multiverse, you hated the stupid government so much that you banded together and became a stupid government. Anyway, general practitioners, bulk billing incentives will be tripled for most common consultations with children under 16, pensioners, and other Commonwealth concession card holders, which is fantastic because almost nowhere in Newcastle at the moment is bulk billing anymore, because it's just not enough for them to be able to operate. So that is fantastic because it means that people will go see the GP sooner when they start getting sick, which will make it cheaper in the long run to treat them, which will then have further societal benefits, because it turns out that sick and dying people are not terribly productive.
Assuming they don't up the prices.
The incentive being higher in regional and rural areas, I wonder if that will incentivize doctors to move out there.
Well, that's the thing.
Probably.
That's the thing, yeah. David. With bulk billing, the general practitioners don't set the prices.
No, they don't, but they set the gap. So if you go to the
not if you're
being
bulk billed, there shouldn't be a gap.
I know. If you're being bulk billed, but if I go to the doctor today because I'm not a pensioner or anything, and it's what's the government give back? It's an $80, $100, whatever consult, and the government pays $36.75, or I think it is, or $37, something like that. So I effectively paid $41, $42 to go see the doctor. If they were to go and say, we're going to triple that for a pensioner, and they might say at this place, okay, for pensioners, we're going to charge, rather than charge you $40, we give you a discount. We only charge you $10.
Well, pensioners
So
don't
that-
get
so that-
charged anything. If you're bulk billed, you don't get charged, period.
Yeah, but they if you're bulk billed, you don't get charged, but they always get that cut from Medicare, is what I'm saying. So if they say you're a pensioner, we're going to charge you $10, and then they go, oh, actually, now we'll bulk bill you, or we're going to charge you $10, but the government's going to go and flick us 3 times as much. But they still pass on, say, a $10 charge to the pensioner. You know what I mean? Like if they're currently not already doing bulk billing, they could turn around and say, we don't bulk bill still, and take the 3 times amount in their pocket.
But they can't do that because then they wouldn't be bulk billing you. Unless you're suggesting that they're going to commit fraud.
No, they're not bulk billing, I know. But if they're saying today, we don't bulk bill, we charge a gap, they still get a bit of money from the government. When I go to the doctor and I don't get bulk billing, Medicare pays part of it.
Yes, and when you bulk bill, Medicare just pays all of it.
Yes, Medicare pays all of it. They pay the same amount. It's just the doctor doesn't charge a gap.
Yes, and the amount that they can charge is set by Medicare. The doctor
Okay,
doesn't get to say.
The doctor gets to say the gap.
Yes, but if you're being bulk billed, you're not being charged a gap.
Okay, don't worry. I don't think you're understanding me.
Anyway,
I don't think I'll be able to explain it.
that's good. I think that's good. Because people go to see the doctor, which is good because sick people are terribly unproductive. Which is all we care about is how productive things are. Homeowners. Here you go, David. You'll like this. You own a home.
Don't know if it'll actually impact me.
Low interest loans will be offered to households looking to improve their energy efficiency. 110,000 loans will be offered aimed at encouraging households to invest in more efficient appliances or improve their energy efficiency in other ways. Loans can go towards upgrades like double glazed windows or adding solar panels. It's similar to a range of schemes offered by various states and territories, governments, and $1 billion in funding will be set aside to establish it. Another $300 million will go towards energy efficiency upgrades in social housing. David, how do you feel about a low interest loan to get solar panels?
I already have solar panels and a loan, so kind of already done that one.
What about double glazing? You got double glazing?
Yeah, do you have double glazing? You should get double glazing.
I
love double glazed donuts. They are the best. And there's a 7-Eleven just down the road that sells them. It's fantastic.
The main thing is it sounds like it's still encouraging me to have to spend that money. Just give me a loan to do it. It's like, what if I don't want that thing? Maybe
cool. Don't get the loan. Save it for me when I get my house.
Discount the price for me and I might do it.
Yeah, but David, you see, it pays for itself in the long time, and by getting a low interest loan from the government, you don't have to pay for it up front. And you don't have to pay much interest either. It's great.
I think it'd be interesting as well. It should be noted as well, these loans are not going to be like house price size. It's just going to be like
it's the cost of getting double glazed windows fitted.
Yeah, my solar I think was $9,000, and that's with the interest paid baked into it.
Yeah,
which let's be honest, if you're getting double glazed windows should be standard, really.
I mean, there's lots of things that should be standard. Shower doors that once they get warm don't shatter when you open them would be great. Funny story. A mate of mine had a house built recently, and there was a couple of issues they had to have fixed up after they'd moved in that they found out about. One being that there was about 4 millimeters of clearance between the towel rack and where the shower door, which is made of glass, opens. So it won't take much, thermal expansion before you can't open the shower door. So look, the quality control in new houses could probably do with a bit of work. But look, David, go get a loan. All the cool kids are doing it, and get yourself some double glazed windows, not donuts.
Help yourself to some government money. All the rich kids are doing it.
Exactly. It's like
Well,
the old-fashioned
I'm getting
saying.
money. I'm just getting a discount on interest.
What's trashy if you're poor, but really cool if you're rich? Taking
Asking for
government money.
money.
Moving on, Indigenous communities. Over 5 years, $1.9 billion will be spent on measures to improve the lives and economic opportunities available to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Good, because they are currently a bit behind the curve. And by a bit, I mean a lot. What causes that? I'll let you discuss in the comments. What could possibly go wrong there? More than $500 million of that funding will go towards improving cancer outcomes for First Nations people and expanding the Tackling Indigenous Smoking program. Wait, what? Expanding the Tackling Indigenous Smoking program. Anyone else having trouble wrapping their head around that sentence?
There's a program that tackles Indigenous smoking, getting them off the durries.
I'm assuming that's what it'd be, but the way that it reads, it sounds like
the program is called that. That's why it's a capital.
No one ever accused journalists of being good at their jobs
expanding
these days.
the Tackling Indigenous Smoking, and okay, that makes more sense. That is a
What
sloppy
they
sentence.
probably should have done is like put next to it like TIS or something, like the TIS program.
Yeah, that probably would have been better. Look, being grammar Nazis aside, another $110 million will pay for remote housing in the Northern Territory.
410.
Was it 400? What did I say?
110.
I thought 410. Sometimes the brain and voice box doesn't match up. It's great. What could go wrong there? Yeah, as well as housing in Wreck Bay Village and Jervis Bay. So that's good. More housing. I like more housing. 150 million for Indigenous education and languages, with 46 million in Aboriginal community controlled organizations. Okay, so at least they're getting to control a fair bit of it, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Separately, an additional $250 million will be spent improving community safety services, education, and job creation in Central Australia. Good, because that place is kind of a shithole.
This is the bit that I actually have an issue with. The federal government has committed more than $360 million over 3 years to deliver the Indigenous Voices Parliament referendum, including money for civics campaigns and an increase of $10.5 million for more mental health supports for First Nations people during the referendum. So quite apart from the fact that these civics campaigns is basically going to be thinly disguised propaganda for the yes vote, the issue I really have is if they've budgeted $10.5 million for mental health supports for First Nations people during the referendum, they knew that doing this referendum was going to drag the racists out of the woodwork, and they're okay with that. They knew that this was going to be a politically divisive referendum with a far from certain outcome that is going to divide Australia no matter what the result is, and their solution to it is, we're okay with that, we'll just give more money to get Indigenous people counselling. Most normal Australians don't do counselling. Let's extrapolate that out, and let's assume that Indigenous people are normal Australians. Most Indigenous people won't get the counselling either.
Yeah, they'll get shot by police instead.
This is the issue I have with the voice referendum. It's the fact that they're willingly throwing Aboriginal people under the bus to make the Labor Party look good.
I mean, yeah, they're a right-wing authoritarian party. What do you expect?
Fair point.
I mean, yes.
Well said, Mitch. I agree.
Yeah, like the Liberals
correct.
did the same thing to the LGBTQ community.
Yes. Mitch, you're exactly correct. Also, something I'd like to add, which I'm actually kind of surprised you didn't, I was expecting you to. Why is the government spending taxpayer money on what effectively amounts to a political campaign?
I did briefly mention it in passing, but it wasn't the thing I was most angry about.
160 million. That's a fair bit too. Yeah, look, not a fan of that. The rest of it I like, but that bit, yeah.
We should be looking after our First Nations people, but a lot of the stuff that they're spending money on here is probably not the worst thing to be spending money on. But I just,
Yeah,
like
that look, the big F.
I don't like the voice, how they're doing the voice.
Look, I'll probably vote yes for it, but mainly to piss my racist family off.
Oh, I respect that.
I mean, it's just a referendum to make it so they can establish one. When it comes to actually the details of it, that's when we can talk about that as far as I'm concerned, although I don't see it passing, to be honest.
I think it's very interesting. You look at, and we're getting very off topic here, but you look at the rhetoric and the positioning that's come from people from the Yes campaign. You can tell it's very much far from certain. As soon as you start having to drag out celebrities in the NRL, they are concerned that it may not pass.
Oh, historically speaking, it won't. The odds are not in its favor. To paraphrase everyone's favorite teen drama book series. But moving on to international students who are losers, apparently, according to the ABC.
You hear first, ABC racist?
ABC is racist, clearly. It only makes sense. Rules for international students are being significantly tightened as part of an overhaul to immigration. There you go. Everyone on r/Oz Finance is saying that we need to deal with immigration to deal with the housing crisis rather than removing incentives for people to park their money in real estate. That they're doing it. They're doing it.
No, we need more incentives for people to park their money in real estate.
Obviously. It only makes sense.
I'll tell you what incentives we need. Loosening planning laws so we can build more houses.
Look, also, why don't we just pay landlords to own houses? Like, the government should just buy it, give it to the landlord, and then they can charge people rent. That just makes sense, right? Well, sarcasm, Mitchell. You can stop having an aneurysm. So from July 1, student visa holders will be restricted to working a maximum of 48 hours. That's not going to do shit. It's called lying.
It's called cash under the table.
It's called cash under the table, also known as lying and tax fraud.
Which, you know what? I'm totally okay with this because tax fraud is based.
And I mean, if you're planning to leave the country at the end of the year and never come back, you're probably going to get away with it too. By the way, our official position is don't commit tax fraud.
Yes. No, you should only commit tax fraud in Minecraft.
You should only commit tax fraud in China because then they send a nice van to your house to give you a nice long nap. Anyway, students
what was it I was saying earlier?
Students working in aged care will be exempt from the restrictions, but only till the end of the year. Interesting. Rules for who will be allowed to study on student visa will also be changed, as Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill says too many people are using the visa as a pathway to permanent residency rather than getting an education. Okay, I'll take your word on it.
I thought the whole idea was to steal the best and brightest from other countries and make them one of our own.
I think what they're trying to say there is that people are coming over here under the guise of getting an education. They're not getting the education and mooching off of that. It's the Labour Party way of saying that the immigrants are coming to take your jobs and live on welfare. They took our jobs.
But to be fair, though, it's actually kind of a smart play because you don't have to pay for 18 years of healthcare, public schooling, all of that sort of stuff that you would have to pay for Australian children. Of course, we want people from other countries, the best and brightest, their kids to come over here, so we only have to pay for 4 years.
Look, that's a fair point. And on top
actually,
of that,
no, we don't.
You only get the rich ones because the poor ones can't leave China.
And actually, I'm wrong. We're not paying for them. International students pay for themselves.
Exactly. They pay the ridiculous prices the universities charge.
It's a
Unlike me,
foolproof
a
plan.
red-blooded Australian who does the Australian thing and charges the government for my education. Anyway, the federal government earlier this month announced an increase to the minimum pay threshold to be considered for a permanent skilled worker visa, meaning fewer people would qualify for the program after it was paused for a decade.
Oh, that's to stop them advertising for 7-Eleven workers to come over.
It's fair. There's enough 7-Elevens as it is.
Hmm.
I
And
mean,
if
although
Australia,
that being said, double glazed no, donuts. So look, there's that. However, the minister has flagged simple, faster pathways will be introduced to attract students hoping to study in-demand skills, and new graduates will be provided an extra 2 years of post-study work rights for certain degrees.
like I said, stealing their best and brightest.
Look, that's perfectly fine.
Aussie,
and
Aussie,
while
Aussie.
while
Oi,
we're
oi, oi.
while we're stealing their best and brightest, we should be purging people who do not score high enough on standardized tests in school. Or is that the plot of a
We should
really
just-
bad YouTube movie featuring some dickhead? No one gets the reference. Okay, we'll move on.
No.
Job Seeker is going up by $40 a fortnight. I mean, something, I suppose.
Mm.
It's better than a kick in the teeth. It's a kick in the shins.
Yeah, because if you got a kick in the teeth, you'd have to pay your own money for dental, which isn't in Medicare.
This is true. Hurry up and put it in Medicare, you gits. Boss Gritsnock needs more teeth. The incentive falls short of recommendations by unions, businesses, and social services experts made through the Economic Inequality Task Force that the job seeker rate be raised to 90% of the aged pension. Wow, when businesses are saying that welfare is not generous enough, you know you're being stingy. David, you look like you have something to say there.
I'm just listening, but no, not really. I'm just thinking. I feel like raising the job seeker rate to 90% of the age pension is not a good thing.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like that's like if look, the age pension probably isn't at a livable wage or a comfortably livable wage already, but
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah, let's assume it is. It seems silly to put a job seeker so close to that while encouraging them to get a job. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what percentage it is now, but
well,
yeah, the way
I would argue that it should be 100% of the aged pension. I mean, the majority of people on an aged pension will own a house already, and they won't be supporting kids, hopefully. So their costs will be lower, but you expect someone who's out of work to live off of less than 90% of that, and there's people that say the aged pension is not even livable.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That was just what came to my mind.
I would argue that it should probably be at least it should be the aged pension, because your average aged pensioner is probably set up to handle things better than your average job seeker.
Fair point.
High rate for older people who previously applied to recipients over 60 who had received job seeker for 9 months or longer will now apply. So if you're over 60 and you're on job seeker, you get more money, and they've now brought that down to 55.
Let's be fair, because if you're over 60 and on job seeker, you're probably going to stay on job seeker.
Yes.
That last sentence doesn't make sense.
A lot in this doesn't make sense.
Overall benefiting $1.1 million people receiving income support.
No one accused journalists of being good at their jobs.
I think there's supposed
days.
to be a 2 in there. Overall benefiting $1.1 million to people receiving income support.
And let's be
Okay.
brutally honest here, the kind of journalists who work for the ABC are the people who went to private schools.
True. Look, the bit that I don't like about this is there's no mention of getting rid of Job Active. I think Job Active it's a shameful thing that we put job seekers through, and it should be abolished yesterday.
I just think we should abolish all of that and just institute a negative income tax.
Baby steps, Mitchell. Baby steps.
We would save so much money if we could
I
just get
know.
rid of the bureaucratic apparatus.
Yes, and it would also reduce stress, which would mean we'd save more money on mental health issues as well. There's very few things that are more demeaning than having to go to work for 3 days a week to make $0. But that's a topic for another day. Medication. Since we are running out of time, we're going to speed run through a few. Whole bunch of stuff going on to the PBS, as well as you'll be able to get more months supply off of a single script, which is great. Because it means you don't have to go to the doctor as often, which will free up doctors' offices, and you won't have to keep paying them as often.
And this is actually going to save money too.
Yes.
Common W.
Which, fantastic. New migrants. Visas are going to become more expensive.
But it's not going to stop 700 million off of net.
Is it net?
It's net.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, because most of that increase is coming from people staying in Australia rather than going home.
Oh, okay. So look, again, Oz Finance should be happy about this. Less migrants. Fuck off your racist gits. Politicians. Federal MPs are getting money. Shocker. They're going to get staff in their offices. Good for them. Good for them.
I should become a federal MP.
Look, we should all become federal MPs.
We should just all go join a different party. Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
join
it's a free country, David.
We know, Jono, you're. Oh, what shit? What party do I join? That's the dirty centrist. I'm screwed.
Well,
we know where you're going, Mitch. We know where
to be
Jono's
fair,
going.
David, you're probably best off joining the Greens. Politically, from an ideological standpoint, you are closest to them out of any of the three majors.
Yeah, but between the people on the call, we know Mitch is joining the Liberal Democrats. We know you, John, will probably join the Greens. We know Tom's probably joining Labor. Do I just have to
Look, the only reason that I'd be joining the Greens is because there's no guillotine enthusiast party.
I think it would actually be a really fun troll to join the LNP.
Look, while you're there,
just to play.
You know what though? You'd probably be better qualified than most of the trust fund babies in the LNP.
It's not much of an achievement, but yes. Also, David, you could be a Trojan horse and burn it down from the inside. Oh wait, no, they're already doing a good job of burning it down from the inside themselves.
Have you seen the Victorian Libs?
Has anyone seen the Victorian Libs? Haven't they just been kind of hiding since Dan Andrews spanked them and made them call him mummy?
Oh, they've also been throwing out this lady whose rally got crashed by Nazis because she didn't. Yeah, no, she runs a rally. The rally gets trashed by Nazis, and they throw her out because the Nazis crashed the rally.
That makes sense.
Well, in fairness, the rally was about supporting real women. So
look, this section doesn't exist because, as we all know, the Labor Party are reckless spenders and could never deliver a surplus. So this section is all lies. It's all lies. There's not a word of truth to this $4 billion surplus.
Is the Pacific the ocean? Are we gonna go and just dump some money in the ocean?
Look, yes, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to take $4 billion and $1 and go dump it in the ocean.
The next one, the Pacific.
Oh, right.
Dump it in the...
On a bunch of different programs. Nice and specific. Or nice and Pacific, as some people who are very poorly educated would say.
The Pacific Ocean.
The Pacific Ocean. But they're dumping the $4 billion in.
But a lot of what this money actually goes to is soft diplomacy. So when I was over in Fiji in 2009, the one thing I noticed was they had the Australia channel on Fiji television, and it's basically just Australian programs that make people like Australia. It's soft diplomacy. It's meant to
I mean,
influence.
that's what all
tourism.
programs like this are, ultimately.
Yeah, and it's basically tied aid as well. So a lot of that money isn't necessarily going to go. The money's not going to go to the Pacific Island nations. The money's going to go to Australian businesses who are going to supply Pacific Island nations with goods.
Yes. That's good. NDIS, no change. It's going to continue chugging along like it has been. The government does want to try to limit growth to no more than 8% per year by 2026. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that. But at this stage, no change. Travelers are losers, which is true. If you feel the need to leave the country to go on holidays, then you live in the wrong country, mate. They'll be paying slightly more in a passenger movement charge. Okay. They'll be paying $10 more for their overseas holiday. Whoop-de-doo.
I find it funny. You got to pay the government. Like, hey, I want to leave.
That'll be $10.
That'd be $70, please.
Single parents are winners, although I'd argue if you're a single parent, it's arguable that you are not a winner. As the circumstances that led to that are probably not fantastic, and life probably sucks at the moment, to be honest. The cutoff for single parenting payments will be lifted from 8 to 14. So that's good. You'll get to, have money to put food in your mouth for longer, which is fantastic. Mostly reversing a cut made under the Gillard and Howard governments. God damn it. This has been long overdue then. Previously, single parents were required to apply for job seeker once their youngest dependent child reached 8 years of age. Good luck getting a job when you have to pick up a child at 3 o'clock of the afternoon and drop them off by 9. Good luck. So that raise that's good. Spies are winners. Aren't spy agencies always winners? Look, they're getting a whole bunch of money. 470 million of it to modernize the agency. God damn it. Look.
You'd think they'd be the most modern.
Look, you'd think that, but apparently not.
No, the ACO was like the most effective communist spy agency during the Cold War.
They are communists. Small businesses are winners. Bonus tax discounts for small. Ooh, I might be claiming some of that. For turnover less than $50 million. Yep, that's me. I turn over less than $50 million with this YouTube channel, so we'll do that. And we also use electricity, so fantastic. Small business will be able to aim 20% of spending that supports electrification. Interesting.
Well, Jono, you can get those solar panels.
Oh, yes. I'll get solar panels. Sounds like a great idea. I'll get a discount on the solar panels, and then I'll use a low interest loan as well, David. I'll double dip. It'll be fantastic. Mental health, disability, and domestic violence and homelessness service will receive $4 billion in additional funding in the coming. That's great.
That's a huge amount.
And money that's given to community organizations generally is spent quite efficiently because they rely on volunteer work. So this is a good thing.
And on top of that, they actually, understand the community a bit better, so they can direct the money to where it's actually needed. So that all looks quite good. There's more there, but we'll keep moving. Sports. No, we don't care.
No.
Superannuation. Gina Reinhardt.
Wait, Jono, there's a decent chunk of money in the budget to start building ahead of the 2032 Brisbane Olympics.
There is, but we're kind of in denial about that at the moment.
Just okay, super.
Superannuation. If you have a balance of over $3 million, you're probably doing okay. So, there's tax incentives being removed. Yeah, you'll get taxed at 30%.
Doubles the tax rate.
I mean, to be fair, if you have a super account of $30 million, you're probably doing pretty all right.
3.
3 million, not 30. 3 million. That's a fair bit.
So my concern is I hope this is indexed with inflation, because 3 million isn't going to be that much in the next little while. Plus, consider that people are living longer and healthcare costs are getting higher. So we may not find that 3 million will go as far as it used to.
That is a valid point. It does not appear to say
Don't
if it's
worry.
indexed or not, but I
Don't
would
worry,
hope
Mitch.
so.
Don't
Put
worry,
it
Mitch.
this-
Between now and then, Liberal will get back in. They'll undo it.
They'll fuck everything up again. I mean, they'll fix the budget that Labor has completely cocked up here. Taxpayers. There is no change. The planned third stage tax cuts legislated to come into effect next year, they're happening. Personally, I reckon if they're going to keep these in place, they should keep the low and middle income tax offset in place. Having that go and putting this, it kind of feels like it gives people feels bad.
Yeah, like LMITO is like that money just directly goes into consumption, which GST.
I think
Yes.
my thoughts here are it's been quite a while, and especially with inflation since the tax-free threshold has lifted. Because I remember when it it more than doubled.
Yeah, and tripled pretty much.
10 years ago, tripled pretty much. When was it like 6K, went to like 18?
Yeah, jump it up to 20. No. Jump it up to 40,000.
Look,
Yeah,
we'll jump it up to
feel like it
40,000
needs
and put a
to-
negative income tax on.
Yeah, it needs to change. That needs to jump again, because it says in here that people continually are going into higher and higher brackets, which is true. People are slowly probably earning more. But also inflation, people are probably going to slowly start to earn more. And that would actually help a lot of people.
I think they need to be
It would help everyone.
Personally, I reckon they should have just scrapped the stage 3 tax cuts and then just reset the system to be indexed with the CPI. I think that would have been a better move, personally. It is expected to cost the budget $69 billion.
Actually, hold on.
Nice.
Nice. But let's consider that if it's linked to CPI, then the government has a vested interest in CPI going up.
Yeah, but they also have a
Fair point,
vested interest in
yeah.
keeping CPI down because riots.
Australians, pardon my crudity, but Australians love to deep throat the boot. COVID taught us that.
They
That's a fair
spent money on
point.
defence, Jono. They
Well-
own the police.
This is true. You have valid points, and you have demolished my argument. Moving on from the $69 billion. Nice. Planned tax cut have endured heavy lobbying to be dumped or wound back, in particular because the greatest benefit will go to the wealthier Australians, but the federal government has maintained it has no plan to abandon the tax cuts. And look, this is just ABC socialist propaganda now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is going to benefit quite wealthy people by abolishing the 37% bracket.
Yes. Actually, I
It's
did
basically getting a 7% tax break.
I did the maths on it, David, and we will be like an extra $100 a year better off under it. So we're right on that threshold.
We get back to 2.5%.
But look, I think personally, I probably would have just restructured the tax brackets completely and put in legislation, have them indexed, so this is no longer a topic. Truckies will be losing because the road user charge will be increased by 6% a year for the next 3 years, from 27.2 cents per litre of diesel to 32.4 cents per litre of diesel by 25-26. So that's going to also put pressure on inflation because you've got to have this there.
Are we losing Jono, Mitch, or is it me?
Yeah. I thought it might have just
am I-
been me because I'm in a regional area, but no,
Has my thing there we go. Is it back?
it's
Yep.
back.
Yeah, truckies have yeah, I don't know how much you heard of that, but they're losing money because the road user charge is going up. Recreational vaping, Mitch's favorite topic, because it turns out Mitch is a Subaru driver.
Do I look lesbian to you?
Look, vaping, you could have an STI and not even know it.
Oh, what am I going to go pick up my girlfriend from school in it?
Vapors are big losers. Look, just ignore the rest of it. Just leave it at that. But in a win for public health, disposable vapes will be banned and others will be heavily regulated and only accessible through pharmacies with a script. Look, to be fair, vaping's not a lot better than smoking, so that's probably
it
a
is
fair
better.
call.
Sounds like they're just enforcing it.
It's better in the same way that being
Technically,
kicked in the shins is better than being kicked in the teeth.
The thing is, though, like, you can get your prescriptions through a doctor rather than the TGA. Yeah, okay, that does make it a little bit easier. Now try finding yourself a doctor who's going to prescribe vaping as a quit smoking aid, because Australian health is arse backwards.
Yeah.
Find a psychologist to sign off on it.
Technically, I actually didn't realize, but yeah, tobacco's already banned in vapes in Australia, but it's just not enforced. Like, pretty sure all the tobacco shops sell them, and then just no one cares. But it sounds like that they're going to be regulating it more.
There's a certain amount of
And enforcing
cynicism in the smoking communities that I'm around. I don't smoke, but I'm around people who do. And there's a certain amount of cynicism that this moving to ban vaping because the government doesn't actually make money from vaping, but it makes money from tobacco. All of this is just going to make it harder for people to quit, easier for people to get back on the ciggies, and the government will start making money again.
Well, that is the plan.
But
It's just as
vapes
planned.
have tobacco in them.
They're not supposed to, are they?
They're not supposed to because that's illegal, but they don't enforce it. So that's where...
Because you need because vaping by itself is not going to help you quit smoking. You need the nicotine in there in order to provide at least a little bit of the hit and wean yourself down slowly, because tobacco is hard to quit cold turkey.
Yeah. Why don't they just adjust the law to get tax on vapes?
That'd be sensible, David. It's the Labor Party. They're not good economic managers, as we all know from our Lord and Savior.
Yes, they are. They're doing this to make money on cigarettes.
Smokers are also losers, according to the ABC. Feel free to quote that out of context. Australia already imposed some of the highest taxes on tobacco products of any nation, but the federal government wants to double down on reforms to introduce a decade ago to further reforms it introduced a decade ago to curb smoking rates. Yeah, curb smoking rates. Tobacco excise will be lifted by an additional 5% each year for 3 years. Jeez.
See, that's inflation. Like, it's to keep it in line with inflation. So yes, whatever.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, like, the excess is, the excise is also particularly high. And the government makes more out of smokers than smokers cost the government health-wise, my understanding is.
Debatable, because you've also got to consider in the fact that they are not going to live as long and thus will not pay as much tax over their life.
True, when you consider that is a good point.
Passive smoking too.
Passives, the effect that they'll have on other people who will pay less tax over their life because they won't live as long. But I don't feel like going into the details on that for much longer. So look, we've got 3 more to get through. Women are winners. Eligibility rules for single parent payments will be changing, which will largely benefit women.
Cool. We've already mentioned that, so that's just fluff.
Yes. Again, ABC. This is their clear left-wing bias coming in. And they are trying to make it look like Labor, left-wing bias and a bias against Labor by trying to make Labor look better than they actually are.
Paragraph 5 is moving on from the fluff.
Okay.
Yes.
So
okay.
We'll skip the first 4. There is also $327 million being directly towards women's safety, including $160 million to support for frontline services in partnership with state and territory governments.
So sexist.
I know.
There are worse things to spend money on than women's shelters.
This is true. $194 million will go towards a range of Indigenous women's safety programs, probably quite important. But there isn't much new money in the budget for women's health. Spending is timing on research and data collection, but there is no new funding for access to contraception and abortion, which are two key benchmarks of National Women's Health Strategy.
Are those things not easy to get in Australia?
I have no idea. Can't say I've ever tried to get an abortion myself. Thought about it.
We're
I mean,
probably-
I heard about abortions as a thing. I thought that sounds like a fun thing to do on a Saturday afternoon.
Mm,
Church in the morning, then get an abortion in the afternoon.
like God intended.
Exactly. I mean, it does say in the Bible instructions on how to cause an abortion. So, and Mitch knows
Moving
exactly.
right along.
Mitch knows what I'm referring to and how I'm twisting that way out of context. Younger people. We've already mentioned youth allowance and all of that's going up by $40 a fortnight. Great. It's better than nothing, but it's really not enough. Rent assistance is going up by 15%. Again, it's kind of just in line with inflation, which rents have gone up faster than inflation anyway. So it's you're not much better off than you were a couple of years ago. There's no new money for TAFE, and there is TBC on university funding and student loan support as the government progresses its universities accord. There is, however, $127.3 million in funding over the next 4 years for an additional 4,000 Commonwealth-supported places at universities for courses that support the nuclear-powered submarine program, including STEM and management disciplines.
Look,
Wait,
that's
does that
probably
mean
not the worst thing.
Can I get a place at uni to study nuclear physics?
Yes.
Look, I'm considering it. I wouldn't mind having a PhD in nuclear physics.
If they'll pay for it, I'd.
And I'm going to make David pay for it. And
Damn you.
finally,
And
because
Also, but going back to that just quickly,
yep.
if we're sending 4,000 people to uni to get picked up on how to support a nuclear submarine, that means they can then work into the civilian sector as well. By that point, what's name? Small modular reactors will be far more economic, and we'll actually have a homegrown industry that could support small modular reactors.
I'm skeptical of that claim, Mitchell.
Cool.
Because personally, I don't see nuclear ever happening in Australia.
But they're providing the. Why would the Labor Party be providing the foundation for this? I guess it is
Because they're poor economic managers.
They are poor
Yes.
economic managers, as we all know. Daddy Rupert Murdoch says so. Peter Credlin also said so, and was very sad when they got elected. Poor Peter. But anyway, Ukraine. 200 million will be spent over 2 years for additional support for Ukraine in the ongoing war with Russia.
Not enough.
Did you see that? We're spending more money on Ukraine than we are on young people at university.
This is
Cool.
true. Oh, let's play a game. Who are we spending less on than Ukraine?
I say we drown the. I'm all for drowning the Russians in superior Western tech.
Look, I'm all for just drowning the Russians.
Bushmasters, based. Drones, based. Artillery ammunition, based. Training for Ukrainian soldiers, ultra based.
You know what's super based? Military bases.
That is pretty based.
It's pretty based. But look, that is the budget that Labor handed down, and as you can clearly see, it's not a responsible budget, and we should have voted the Liberals back in because they are good economic managers.
But hey, with all this military spending, at least I won't have to know how to say, 像这也我有冰淇淋，我很喜欢冰淇淋.
Mitch, that was very offensive to someone, I'm sure.
Hopefully to John Cena, who I'm quoting directly.
Of course. Oh, actually, we're spending more on Ukraine than on spies. No, we're spending more on spies than on Ukraine. Look, here we go. We are spending. No, it was million, wasn't it? Not billion.
200 million.
Look, we're spending more on Ukraine than we're spending on federal politicians. Terrible.
I don't know. I'm happy not to.
We
I'm
are
happy to spend more
spending
in Ukraine.
almost 200 times on Ukraine than what we're spending to increase job seeker. Come on, friendly Geordies, do a take on that.
What's that?
But like
What?
$200 million in order to help destabilize one of the three poles of world influence.
Wait, Jono, we're spending 200 times. So if we do 200 times that $40, we could you can give all the job seekers $8,000 a fortnight.
Hey, Adam Ben, I just found your new talking point. Bring that one up, please. I will pay you to do it. Approximately 1 million BitTorrent tokens.
I mean, technically speaking, you do already pay him through your taxes.
This is true. Look, I'm already paying you, so now I expect you to point out how terrible this is, because we're spending almost 200 times on a war that we're not involved in on the other side of the planet than we are spending on our own people in job seeker.
Just think, Jono, you could go on job seeker for $8,000 a fortnight.
Jesus.
200 million. Well, $40 times 200.
No, not no. Oh, no, 1.9 billion. What else is there? Billions? No.
Jono just wants to find.
I just want to find things that we're spending more in Ukraine then, because it's mildly amusing to me. Yeah, that's in the billions. Defense, obviously. Oh wait, no, that's just a repeat of that. Look, the point is we're spending more on Ukraine than we are on increasing job seeker, and Adam Bent has to bring this up on national news because it would be very amusing to me. Please do. I will send you an email suggesting this.
No, but I think that I think that 200 million will be well spent fighting climate change.
Well, look, it probably could be.
Because the less Russians there are to make emissions, the less emissions there'll be.
Ooh. Yes, I mean, you're not wrong. From a utilitarian standpoint, the thing you can do to fight climate change is to just wipe out humanity.
Yeah, we just got to blow up their gas plants and coal power plants.
No, we can't blow up the gas plants and we release it into the atmosphere, and that's more emissions.
Not if it's burning.
I mean,
there's just natural gas on fire. It's burning. The
hold on, I
CO2
just registered.
emissions.
David, I think you need to think that sentence through again.
What?
I think you need.
Sorry, maybe I'm thinking of like a flame stack methane.
I mean, whether you release it or burn it, it still has a lot of global warming potential.
Yes, but burning it has less.
Yeah, but they're going to burn it
That's
anyway.
why fire stacks exist.
Except for the percentage of it that leaks out of pipes, because apparently those pipes are leaky. Here we go. No, we're giving more to small businesses than we are to Ukraine. Well, that's super. Is there an estimate on how much
This is a tax
this is
change. It's not a.
Yeah, how much is it's going to raise?
2
Additional
billion.
2 billion. Okay, no. Look, that's the budget. Friendly Geordies, please make a video pointing out how great Labour is, given that they're giving more to a war on the other side of the planet than they are to job seekers. I'm looking forward to that one.
Also, we challenge you to a game of 40k in 10th edition. You do still have your Tau, right?
I'll bring the Orcs because Greens is the best. So look, yeah, I think that's pretty much does it for us for tonight. I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm tired and need to go to bed. Unless David and Mitch have anything else they want to add before we wrap up.
I've issued my challenge to Friendly Geordies. I will wipe the floor with my Armored Guard company.
Actually, I would find that very amusing. Oh, Mitch, just wait till you see. I don't know if you read the latest Warcom article, but Be'lakor is spicy.
I did read that. Anyway.
Anyway, off topic. Goodbye forever. Never talk to me again.